Welcome to Short and Sweet, where we're going to do our best to keep this short and sweet. Today's sample comes to us from Anxi County, China, so you know we're talking about guanyin. We do have a beautiful light roast here, very, very vibrantly green, almost nuclear green. The dry leaf alone has an extreme floral aroma to it. Now, the reason I didn't carry an Anxi County specific guanyin last year is that I was getting a bit sick of a dry, over-perfumey character that I was noticing in a lot of Anxi guanyin. So I took a year off, indulged myself in some Taiwanese guanyin, and now I'm back to the tasting table and gonna enjoy this with you. So the parameters we're gonna be working with is gonna be 5 grams per 100 milliliters. We're going to be using 90 degrees Celsius. We're going to do a brief rinse and then start with around 20 seconds. So here we go. This was one of the first teas that I ever really fell in love with. It was one of the first times I ever really found a loose leaf oolong that I really enjoyed. I thought for presentation purposes this would look awesome in a glass sky wine, and I was correct. So, off of the aroma of the wet leaf. Okay, floral, but with a real stone fruity minerality. A little bit of custard in there. Very sweet, and a little bit of wet grass. A little bit of, and very specifically wet grass on that. Okay, so we've done our brief rinse, and let's do 20 seconds and get on with our first steep. Wow, look at that green. Whoa. Let me try to get this close to the camera. But now that the leaves are unfurling a bit and they're starting to get resaturated with water, wow, that vibrant green is really starting to show. All right, so we're gonna take our rinse here and feed it to Cornelius, our main man tea pet. So, as for the liqueur, we got a nice lime greenish yellow liqueur. It's got a nice glow to it. Show that to the camera. Smells really nice. And as I said, I've had a year off from this tea. I really was getting, either I was drinking it too much, or like I said, maybe I was noticing some things in it that I really wasn't overly fond of, so I thought, I know that I like this tea, so let's take a break from it, let's take a little siesta from it, and then we'll revisit it with a cleaner palate, and we'll see how we feel about it. So, along with drinking a fresh sample, this is the revisiting of Anxi guanyin for me, so good luck. If you're joining at home, cheers to you. Okay, floral, sweet, not overly floral, not quite a perfumey floral. I'm not quite getting that dryness yet, which is a good thing. I'm getting a nice little bit of astringency on my tongue, but overall the texture of this tea is actually pretty smooth. Pretty crisp too. There's a little bit of a juiciness to it. Already I'm already getting a little bit of high mountainous, some high mountainous notes. I'm really starting to get this cloud, drifty, airy feel, but still with a nice saturation of flavor. And as I mentioned, not only am I getting flavor and aromatics, I'm also getting texture on this steep. Nothing's too much, nothing's too little. This is a really nice first introductory steep. Obviously, if we're talking about the kind of florals this is, we're talking about a real buttercup kind of floral. Something yellow, something luscious, something buttery, very vibrant, something that screams spring is here and summer's on the way. Something that I really wish the nature would start screaming here. I hear that could be tomorrow, so we'll see. Cheers again. Again, steep 1. 2020 spring light roast Unytea guanyin. I'll tell you, there's a very, very light custard character. It's almost like when you're making French toast and you're whipping up your eggs and then you mix in a little bit of vanilla with that. That's what I'm getting. So it's not quite a custard, but I'm getting a whipped egg and a little bit of vanilla in there. Maybe even a touch of cupboard spice like nutmeg or cinnamon even. Little bit of that. It's got a nice lasting flavor to it. I'm really, and this is the first steep, so premature, but I'm really digging the texture thus far because it has texture, it has weight, but at the same time, it is very airy and juicy. And really an overall smooth character. So again, we're using 90 degrees Celsius on this second steep. We're going to do 25 seconds. With this tea, we're going to start off with just doing 5 second increment additions to each steep, but we'll see after the second steep what kind of balance of flavor and texture we're getting. We may have to add or subtract to that a little bit, or stay the same. But again, we want to make sure we are fresh at 90 degrees. I don't want to understeep this tea, but at the same point, I know a lot of people that enjoy brewing their Unytea guanyin at much higher temperatures. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that per se, but you're going to be pulling out those harder textures then. And for me, I really like a Tea guanyin to be on the softer side. Again, it's not better or worse. It just really depends on your palate. And with me, I've noticed that if I brew at the higher temperatures with these green, especially Chinese oolongs, I'm really going to start pulling out those dry notes that I'll feel in the back of my throat that I'm not overly fond of. It's one of those textures of tea, I don't mind there being a dry note or a dry factor to the tea, but if the tea is overall dry, it just has an overall dry character, then that's where I start to tune out a little bit. So after the second steep, you can see the leaves have unfurled quite a bit. Again, we're using 5 grams per 100 mil, so we definitely didn't overcrowd our guanyin, but we weren't super skimpy on the leaf either. I'm excited to see these leaves unfurl a bit more in the next 2 steeps, and we'll be able to explore the leaf a little bit more. They're definitely not unfurled to the point where I like to, I start to begin to play with them with my hands, because you don't want to force the leaf open early, because you could crack it and allow for more catechins and possibly more bitterness to come out. So we still have a little bit of a green tint in this tea, but as you can see, it is definitely taking on a more yellowy color now. I wouldn't quite say gold, I'd say it's like an electric yellow with still a little tint of greenish blue in there. So this is the second steep. Cheers to you. More floral, more texture, I'm getting an astringency on the very top front of my tongue. Tea still has an overall juicy feeling. I'm getting a little bit of crisp minerality. I'm getting a little bit of that egginess, but I'm getting more of a juicy, a little bit of a fruit juicy slash crisp minerality character this steep. The floral note is very nice. This is what I was fearing the most, was that this was going to be perfumey. This definitely is not. Maybe the aroma of the fresh leaf was overly floral, but honestly, the flavor isn't overly screaming floral, which is what I look for in a Tie guanyin. There has to be a strong floral character to it, but if that's all that's there, then count me out. Again, that's also that I find with those same Tie guanyin that you really get those drier notes, and if it's not notes, a drier feeling in the back of your throat. It's vibrant. It's fresh. It's got this really cooling feeling to it, like a really crisp, replenished, kind of a cold shower on a hot day type of refreshing. And again, do not forget to feed your tea pet. I'm getting a little bit of stone fruit, both in flavor and the aroma. The butteriness is nice, and it's subdued. I appreciate a buttery note in Tie guanyin, but sometimes if the buttery note is really, really strong, it puts off from the other flavors. Again, I like this. I like the texture to it, because on this part, that's where I'm feeling the astringency. Any farther back or under the tongue, or, you know what I mean, any of those really slightly underside taste buds on the underside of the tongue, all of that still remains very, very smooth and slick. The astringency, I'm only feeling on that very tip surface area of my tongue. And I think the key to teas that have a good amount of astringency, and enjoyable teas that have a good amount of astringency, is that it be targeted, so that the overall astringency isn't everywhere. You don't just have a rough feeling all throughout your mouth. It's really on the top of your tongue, on the back sides, you know what I mean? There's really some area that it focuses on to present itself. I'm getting a little bit of fresh spinach and a little bit of so we're gonna split the difference here. It's not a fresh cucumber and it's not a cooked cucumber. It's like a cucumber that you cook up for a salad, but you don't use all of it, and you throw all of it into a little jar for a day. It's not bad by any means, but it's that softened texture. That's what type of cucumber I feel is represented in this tea. So we're going to go 30 seconds for this third steep. Wow, I'll tell you, I still have this really, really nice, sweet, floral, minerality that's left on my palate from the last steep. Really, really nice. As you can see, the leaves are unfurling quite a bit. I do see a lot of damage on these leaves, but I will be the first to admit that anxi Tie guanyin, even that is hand rolled, can come out looking not as beautiful as you want it to. But this one does seem a little bit desecrated, which is never the best sign. That being said, please remember that I noticed that anxi guanyin doesn't always retain the same leaf quality that Taiwanese oolongs do throughout the production. And it's because it's a mainly different cultivar that's grown in different soil that has different nutrients in it that grows a different way. So I don't think that all of it is blamed on the producer, but there's definitely, you can tell, some flaw. This is a high mountain guanyin, but if I would have to guess, I'd have to say that this is machine rolled. Hand rolling tends to preserve the leaves a little bit better than this, and I've even seen some machine rolling that's better. Something that's interesting though is that the amount of broken up leaf that I'm inherently complaining about usually leads to more rough texture coming out, more of the flavors coming out in earlier steeps that ends up really leading to a loss in longevity of the session. I'm not really feeling that quite yet with this tea, but damn me for saying anything. Really, I should have been like, well, Jeff, you're about to take a sip of a new steep. Maybe you should wait to say that. I'm getting slightly more of a metallic character. Sorry for the technical difficulties. That's what happens when you film with your phone and forget to put it into airplane mode. So, I was speaking that this guanyin is starting to show some signs of things that I don't like, reasons I didn't carry it last year, but we're going to go into the fourth steep now. We've had a moment to reflect and step back from the situation, so now let's go back into it, and hopefully we find something that we weren't finding before. Positive. Yeah. So we'll just wait that sand timer on out. Oop. So, oh boy, guys. So the leaves are unfurled, and we have some that are, somewhat together. But the majority of this leaf, I've got to say, does not look good. This is not what I define as good leaf quality. It's okay that not every leaf is pristine, but I'll tell you, when you're buying high mountain tea, even guanyin, I mean, most leaves should be pretty close. They should be pretty close to this. With some, you expect some breakage along the edges, but there is much more broken leaf than there is whole leaf, which is a bummer. I mean, there are, like I said, I've pulled out some full leaves, but going through the full 5 grams, I'd have to say that there's probably only maybe 2 full leaves in there. I'll give you a closer look at that for yourself so that I'm not just feeding you lines. But let's get into this. Again, this is the 4th steep. This is anxi guanyin, the notorious TGY. So yeah, I'm getting that. Along with the florals, I'm getting this really slight metallic note, which isn't all that bad, and I like when a guanyin continues to evolve throughout steeps, and that metallic note I have tasted in very high grade guanyin, so it's not necessarily a sign of poorer quality. But now that we're really seeing the leaves, now that we're into the 4th infusion, so we're past the sweet 3 steeps, this tea is in multiple ways showing its true form. It's not a very pretty cup of tea. Those first 3 steeps were pretty good. This 4th steep, though, you can really feel is falling off. And for a high mountain Tie Guanyin to be falling off, a well-produced Tie Guanyin to be falling off in its 4th steep is no. I really even feel like there's a bit of flavor loss already. I'm trying to not be negative about it, but I'll tell you, the character just seems like it's leaving. We're going to give this tea one more steep because I think that that's the fair thing to do. So, getting a little bit of that butteriness. I'm getting a little bit of fresh cut grass, very faint. Clumped up fresh cut grass might be a little better way of saying that. So, a little bit for me, a little bit for Cornelius. And we're going to go in. This last steep we're going to do, again, we're using 90 degrees Celsius still. We are going to steep at about 40 seconds. Hopefully this tea reveals something magical to us. Otherwise, stir that soup around a little bit. Well, at least on the last steep, we got a really good pour. So there's that. There's that. All right. All right, Tie Guanyin, let's see. What do you got? Pull out something magical. Pull out something magical. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Nope. Light floral, lackluster, like a buttery kind of creamy note, but it's not very pronounced or accentuated. And I guess this tea isn't very astringent, which is a plus, but the depth of character as this tea is definitely lacking. So I want to, again, try to keep this short and sweet. And I'm going to leave you guys with, this is definitely not a tea that we're going to be carrying. I am very grateful for the chance to be able to try this year's tea. I really appreciate it. It was a delicious cup of tea for those first couple steeps, but when it comes to Unytea.store, top of the crop, this just isn't there. So doesn't mean we won't carry an anxi Tie Guanyin, but I can tell you this one for sure will not be making its way to the shop. So guys, please like, subscribe, do all those things. If you have any suggestions for videos, please shoot them over. Thank you guys a ton for watching. Follow and help to inspire other tea creatives and educators. Cheers, guys. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you again soon.